In a world of endless noise, one sound cuts through. GC Radio Hub. Your world, your sound. Imagine your favorite voices following you everywhere. From your smartphone to your car, your smart TV, even your virtual assistant. GC Radio Hub connects you to a universe of content. Check out our wonderful interviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio live music shows and podcasts. All at your fingertips. Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick TV. We're there wherever you are, because the only way to stay connected is to get connected. Download the GC Radio Hub app today and let your world come alive.
Hey everybody, how you doing today? It's your favorite cousin Chief over here at GC Radio Square Magazine, and today, oh my goodness, I got my buddy. Man, it's hard to get hold of this guy. No, I'm lying. It's hard to get us together because he does a lot of things. This is the legendary pound for pound Square Rings Magazine's own representative from Canada, Scotty, the Bulldog, is in the building with Scotty's Boxing Tips. How you doing today, Scotty?
Thank you for that. I'm doing excellent. It's just a wonderful day. Sun's out, and I'm really happy to be talking to you today.
Man, it's a joy to be talking to you any day, brother. I appreciate you over here. And, like I said, you're part of Square Room Magazine, GC Radio family. Man, it's an honor always to have you with us, bro. Always. So one of the things that we were talking about earlier, and I want to bring to fruition, is that some people are saying that my man, Shedeur Stevenson, was caught with his hand in the bag, meaning that he allegedly, because it's not been confirmed completely, used some kind of substance in his victory over his last fight with Lopez. And some of them saying that since he beat him so bad that maybe he need to get jail time or press charges. Now, I've seen a beating, and I don't want no funk, don't want no smoke, but the Garcia fight when he fought my guy Haney was a beating, and the Stevenson fight wasn't nowhere near that. So, at what point do we start trying to charge boxers with felony or misdemeanor or criminal charges for fighting? I mean, it's one thing if you put brass knuckles inside your gloves, you beating the hell out of somebody. I can see that, but if they take something to make them more physical, more winded, or whatever, they still got to throw their own punches. They still got to take those punches. They still got to get in there and fight. I don't think that requires jail time. Maybe sanctions and keeping them from fighting, but unless they got brass knuckles inside their gloves, or if they got some type of drugging agent on their gloves, just putting it on the other person's eyes or in their skin to enhance them from being able to respond, then yeah, they need criminal charges. But just because you take a Red Bull energy drink or something give you a little physical advantage, it's not fair, but I don't think it warrants criminal charges. What do you think, Scotty?
Well, that's it's a very, very important that we brought this up, because there's a lot of athletes in history that have taken different things to help their performance, and I don't think in this case with Shakur Stevenson, I don't see what he did. If the allegations are true and he did take something that might try to enhance his performance in some way, I just don't. I think he's too good of a fighter, and I don't even think he would have needed anything. Uh, I look at back in the day, Barry Bonds. I was a big fan of him. Still am, and I think he had some issues with different substances and stuff. But I think he was banging out home runs no matter if he had anything in his system or not. So I just don't think of it as being like a criminal charge. If you did something like that, if it made a person unbelievably strong and unbelievable muscular, and you ended up hurting the other fighter because you were so much better as a result of the a substance that you took, you know, I don't think it should be such a big thing, but that's how I see it.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying that the beating was so vicious that it had to be a helping agent. Normally he couldn't beat nobody like that. I guess the butt whooping was equivalent to a parent taking a belt off and wearing out a child. So they try to say for two grown men, he had to have some performance in agency to give him the competitive advantage. And that the loser should be compensated for it and maybe criminal. I don't agree with that. It is what it is. I don't agree with it, but that's what they claim.
Yeah, yeah. I think maybe if at all the allegations turn true, maybe a little time off from boxing, and Shakur is good enough. He'll just go back. He'll be rated top one, top two in the world in probably any division he wanted to be in. And he'd get another a shot and become champion once again. So for I was quite impressed in that fight, or I was well, with Teofimo, I thought that seeing him beat a couple quality fighters before and how he beat them, I thought he would do a little bit better in the Shakur fight, which proves to me that Shakur, is on a level by himself, um, next to guys like Crawford who just retired.
Yes, that's good. Now the Crawford fight is sad because this guy is challenging the whole boxing sanction agency solo, and his thing is that the amount of money you guys charging us is ridiculous to hold these tights. You don't pay for my training, you don't pay for my trainers, you don't pay my livelihood. All you want to do is collect them every time I win. And if that's the case, you can have your belt. Matter of fact, I retired from boxing. I don't think he should have retired from boxing, maybe not affiliated with that particular sanctioned body, but I don't think the man should have retired, man. I mean, I think he has a lot of boxing left in him. I don't know if he's just going to train other fighters or whatnot, but he's like, I don't have to fight again. I've made enough money. I've did my thing. I'm good. But I really don't think these sanctioned bodies should, be um charged as much as they are. You know, these sanctioned bodies, they get a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money for the things that they do. In setting up the boxes and putting out the belts out there and having them the prize that everybody want to put their hand on and attain. These sanctioned bodies get a lot of money, revenue, and prestige from that, and have millions and millions and millions of people who want to um, get in the ring and compete for one of those belts. It's like the top honor and prize of boxing to have one of those belts. Now, I'm privileged to have a couple of belts, and I've never gotten a ring, and I got some honorary belts. But
Yeah.
the people that want to get in here, they got to bring some closure to the expectations and the amount of money they're taking from these people with this. I mean, that's a lot of money that they're charging and sanctioning for these belts. I mean, what was it, $300,000?
Well, for Shakura's, I read that it was $120,000, which is still astronomical for any kind of a sanctioning fee. And I know WBC is such a great belt to have, and it's a great organization. It's been around for so long, and it's really a great organization. But that kind of money, like 120,000, let's say you make just just for example, you make $1 million in a fight. Well, 10% of that off the top goes to your trainer on a typical contract, and then
Okay.
so now you got 90% left. Well, 33 and a third of 90% goes to your manager, so you're left with about just under 60%, about 59 point something percent of things, and then you have sanctioning fees, and then you take that off, and then you have taxes that you take off that. I think it's $120,000 or 10, 12% of a person's purse is a lot of money to spend for a sanctioning fee.
Well, my thing is this. They're claiming that the money that they're getting for the sanction fees goes to boxers' retirement and stability and others for the boxers. But I'm not saying where none of this money going. There's been people question the legitimacy of where this money going, other than the boxing agency, the sanction agencies, president, CEO, and marketing, advertising, the body themselves. Where have they put this money in? Funds for retirement for boxers, or mental health, or social development, or rehab for these boxers. I don't see where none of that money that they claiming there's going to these different acts of kindness and back into the sports, to invest into the fighters. Now, if they were doing, let's say if they did get the $150,000, and I'm not wrong, being such a prestige position, the CEO should get like $30,000. Then $120,000 should be divided by maybe 60 to the organization and 60 towards some type of fund for the boxers. You get a head injury, you get seriously injured, and your medical costs is high up there to help cover for the fighter. Because these are human beings. These are not robots and cattle. These are humans. So they need to put some of the money back into the sports, into the fighters, towards risking their lives. I mean, these people out there in a slugger fest, they're risking their lives in the rings, for people to be entertained, and not for somebody to get a fat yacht and a private jet and go off and golfing all damn day on all these fighters' expense. They need to put that back into the fighters and help do good with that. Then I can see the money grab from the agency.
Yeah, if they're making that kind of money on sanctioning fees, and it's going towards something productive for fighters, I think that's really important for fighters that have. It's not like fighters really get to have any kind of a pension. We don't really. I don't think any of us. I'll just speak on myself. I know I didn't. I wasn't a really good money saver back in my day. I wish I had been, but that just it's it gets it's saddening when fighters have to pay a lot of sanctioning fees, but when that money, if it is going out, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I love the WBC. It's a great title, great belt to have. And if money that is coming from a sanctioning fee is going towards these kind of programs, there's fighters that need help now. So hopefully, things are in place where they know where this money is going and where it's allocated. So that, I think that's important. So you know, it is an interesting point for sure.
Yeah, like I said, if they okay, take you for instance. You said
Yeah.
that you guys don't have any retirement and things like that. So when you done fighting, when you can no longer get in there and slug it out, and a lot of fighters get punch drunk where they have mental issues, they have physical issues. Like look at Muhammad Ali, end up with Parkinson's. He's shaking and couldn't do a lot of things for himself at the end of his career. Why can't these people getting money every time that he fight? They don't get money one time being a champion. Every time he defends that championship belt, they get another fee for that. Why isn't there some of that money going toward that guy's retirement for that he paid into that particular belt? Or put like, let's say they took $150,000 and then they gave the president 30,000. Then they have 120,000 left. 60,000 goes to the organization to market. They got to pay their bills. I understand that. Then they take the other 60,000 and they put a policy for 30,000 on that fighter, and then they put the rest of it in some investment fund. So that if something happened to that fighter, that $30,000 should give him a policy to help with his funeral, burial, or something like that. He can bargain down the line, and something like that should be in order. And the rest of it be for some of the other fighters that was on the card of that fight that helped make money that didn't get the big purse. I mean, something like that need to be structured and ordered. I mean, what's wrong with that? Does that sound like something that's sensible and viable?
Mm. Yeah, I feel you. It's I don't know. It would it's 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 very difficult with um well, I just use myself as an example, but I was never good at putting 10% or 15% away and putting that into any kind of investment that would maybe help me or be there for me, uh, for my financial security when I was older. I think financial security, all fighters dream to have that and want that. So yeah, if sanctioning fees ended up being spread out in some nature to other fighters, I think that would be just a real solid that any organization, WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, any of them, they would be just a great a great gesture, and it would help fighters down the road. So I am agreeing. I'm in agreement of sanctioning fees. It's just sometimes I wonder why it's so much money. It seems like it's a lot.
I'm not trying to be funny. When a lot of people think of boxing, they think of this:
Mm,
the
yeah.
Rock'em Sock'em Box Hazy, toe to toe slug out facts. But us at Scrubberag Magazine, we think of this. We think of the business. We think of the sports. We think of the people. We think of the fighters, because without no fighters, there's no sports. There's need to talk about it. And last but not least, we think of the fans. And we would love the sports. We love the competition, but we also love the gladiators in the game, and we need to protect the gladiators. They need to have some help. I mean, it's just like with the professional ball players, the NFL, the NBA. They get out there, they get their agents, and then they do this, and then they got to pay for this, and they got to pay for this, and then I mean, like Chuck Munson, one of the best running backs of all time, when he left the NFL, he came in the NFL with a degree from college for basket weaving. First of all, you need to fault the universities, because back then they couldn't make money in college. Not legally. Legally back then, he could make money in college. And you let this man go through 4 years of school with a basket weaving degree. What company or what place going to pay you in America after 1990 to get a job basket weaving? I mean, seriously, how's that even a curriculum? That's a crime within itself. And then this man go do all this time in the NFL, and then he leaves broke and penniless because he had a degree in basketball and get injured. You know, the
Mm,
players union do have a retirement for football, so they do get some money, and he played enough years to get that. But what I'm saying, what boxing, they don't have any of that in order now. We need to some kind of way have. I don't want to say the government need to do it, but they need to be a federation within boxing to come together and have all the sanctioning belts. So people don't know when we say sanctioning. The sanctioning bodies are the different belts, the green belts, the red belts, the other ones. The green belt is the most famous belt because they pay the most money. They pay the most money for those belts, and those fighters get the most money for fighting. That's supposed to be like the top of tier, other than Ring Magazine. They coming out like trying to top everybody. But they need to, like I said, put some of that money back into the sport and help protect the fighters. If your fighters is the main source of your sport diminish with no fighters. So at some point in time, you got to protect your fighters to protect the sports. It's common sense.
mhm.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. No, I got you. I think um, with what you said, there's I'm sorry. There's so many different ways I can go with this, so it's a little bit hard for me to figure. But um, with this, I think this when it comes down to these sanctioning fees, when it's all said and done, it's there used to be um, an organization of some sort, or what went through Los Angeles or through California, and it gave fighters a bit of a pension depending on how many times they fought in the state, how many times they were um, fought in the state, and depending on what kind of earnings they made, and there was money I think allocated for them that went to them. I think that's really a great thing. You know, that's sort of the the basis part of how I feel about these things.
I'm with you, man. And I kind of feel
Mm.
kind of cold and kind of bad about it. Like when Muhammad Ali took his Olympic medal and threw it in the trash and threw the other one in the river, and then later he regretted it because it represented his country, but also at the same point in time, he was fighting against going to Vietnam and fighting for his religious and moral beliefs. So I can understand people get frustrated with things, like I got a green belt and I feel like throwing my green belt in the trash, because I don't see how with the Crawford thing, they're not doing the fighters right, man. Like I said, with no fighters, you have no sports. We got to protect our fighters. Hold on one second. Let me show you this. Hold on. So, a lot of people think that, people be talking smack and lying and all that stuff, and you ain't got a lot of kick it. I'm blessed. Like I said, I didn't have to get in the ring to get mine. It's the official carrying case,
Yeah.
it's display, and yes, it's heavy as hell. And no,
Oh,
I didn't have to fight for mine, but I got one. But
yeah.
I'm not honored to have this thing because they're not protecting the people who earn these and make it worth having. This is an
Mhm.
honorary belt. I didn't fight for mine, but it's people risk their lives to get these and give it the prestige that it have. And as much as I cherish it and like it, I don't like what the people who sacrifice to get them go through when they get older or when things happen. It's like at one point, are you a hypocrite? You say this, but then you support that. No, I do appreciate the homage and the ability to possess one and the person that gave it to me. I'm grateful. I'm not ungrateful for that. I am grateful, but I don't like what I see when I see the greed and the sanctioned bodies and not really helping these people and not showing where they're helping these people. And when I'm hearing these reports, not one single dollar in the last 5 or 10 years went to the cause and goals of their mission statement to help the gladiators. That part I don't take pride in it. It's just being honesty. And I do understand that by me bashing this and going against it, it also kills what we have at Scrubby Magazine. We represent the fighters, the sport. The sport as a whole is tarnished and diminished. And our purpose being here diminished with the gladiators not here. But what's more important than us being here as a magazine, the media, and all of that are people lives. At some point, you got to hold a value for human life amongst material things and money and monetization. We must care. We must matter.
No, that is so well said. You're a great man, cousin chief, and it's you look at things in the right fashion, and I anytime I hear you speak on these kind of topics, and you are direct to the point, and you're right on line with what you're saying, and it's nice for me because I it makes the things so easy for me because you are able to say things, and I agree with pretty much everything that I've heard you said so far. So
So,
it's really nice, makes
may,
it easy.
may I speak on you?
Yeah,
May I speak on you?
yeah.
Okay. You are a great fighter. You have a great admiration, respect, and knowledge for the sport.
Mm.
Risk your life, gladiator. You didn't go in there and be one of those knockout artists. I'll get in the ring, get knocked out, get a couple dollars. No, you went and risk your life to win every fight.
Yeah.
You had some health issues. You almost died from a heart attack.
Yeah.
Thank God, whoever you believe in, whoever created, we still have you here. Had you not been a gladiator, have you not had your body stress fatigue for what you believed in the sport you love, you might not have those health issues.
Mm.
But what I'm saying is that was your choice. But also, these sanctioned bodies choose to charge these fees and claim they're going to do XYZ, they need to fulfill those promises to not only you, but the other fighters that fight. And that's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that we should like do anything wrong or evil. We're saying that if they're saying the reason for charging these fees is for these type of situations, they need to fulfill the promise. They need to fulfill the prophecy of what they're doing, because the fans, the advertisers, the spectators, we're all paying in thinking that these things are being done, and we're all being hoodwinked. That's all I'm just trying to put out there.
Wow. Yeah, that's very deep. No, you hit the nail right on the head. I think, with being a gladiator, you're going in there, you're risking your life, and you're putting everything on the line every time, and you're working so hard toward it, and at the end of the career, where whether you make to be a champion or contender or just a typical regular average fighter, it's you have a few different things that you could become. uh but the just money wise, I guess it is. It's important that these fighters have uh, something that is organized in their purses to make sure that they have something deducted from their purse. That I've heard things, out of boxers' purses, and just a percentage of all the pros and percentages goes toward other fighters or fighters in need. It's no fun. I have so many friends, and I have to include myself in that we've suffered quite a bit through what we've left in the ring. I left it all in there as best as I could. Uh, and, some of us don't have the best speaking issues. We have speaking issues. Some of our thought processes are a little bit different. The words may not come out straight and clear enough. So, it's a lot to risk. And, um, it's just, I am appreciative anytime there's anything that comes to light that will help a fighter in any way, financially or medically too, and so that a lot of these fighters are able to uh, get tested and be tested, and for let's say, um, and just the some of the brain things that can happen with boxing, and they can get tested, and those results reviewed. It can just go a long ways to help it be a lot safer sport, I think.
I can concur with you a lot, man. I can concur with you with that. I think that these things should be addressed. It should be accounted for. I think that not only the fighters' credibility should be looked at. I mean, we should look at the credibility of the agencies themselves and not doing what they need to do. I think everybody need to be accountable for the things that they're supposed to do regarding the sports and how we act and conduct ourselves. Totally, it's a total package. It's not, well, we're just going to blame the fighters or we're going to blame the spectator. I think everybody involved should fulfill the letter of their agreement and obligations entirely. Everyone should be accounted for.
Yes, yeah, I'm all for that.
And I
They.
just want to put out there, these are the views of me as chief, not as Square Red Magazine or GC Radio or the other powers that promotes and powers these shows and everything. These are just my personal beliefs, so you can hold it against me personally if the rest of the organization don't agree with it or whatever. But it's just my belief and Mr. Scotty's belief as individuals, fans, ex-athletes, and our point of view. And we just express to you. And Scotty, this is normally your corner where you give boxing tips and techniques. And I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me, because it's something that was like emotional, heartfelt. And I know a lot of people want to talk about this, they hear it, but most of the shows are not guts enough to do this conversation, especially in public. But here,
Yeah.
I don't care. It's until they kick me off the air, I can do what I want to do. And I appreciate you being real and honest to give this honest assessment. These talks and this task is going on. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Scotty.
It's cousin Chief. You've made my life so much greater, and you things like this are wonderful for me because it gives me a purpose, and that purpose, sometimes it's hard to find what your purpose ends up being or what it is once you're retired from the sport. Kind of lose a sense of purpose. So being able to communicate about boxing and offering, well, going through some of the business side, of course, and being able to help with some tips, some things that young fighters coming up, even pros that just may not have been taught a few things, uh, or maybe taught a little bit differently. But there's quite a few things that we can talk about that will help young fighters, intermediate fighters, even world class fighters. Even now, they watch other world class fighters, and they try to steal stuff and take things away and learn from what they would do. I used to watch Mike McCollum do all kinds of things. Donald Curry. There's just there were so many fighters that I was able to pick up some things on. So I haven't really put a lot back into the sport uh, since I retired. I don't have a boxing gym, but what all I've really done is offer some tips to the boys and girls once in a while coming to the gym. That has been really a highlight for me. Um, you know, I- just with yeah, it's well, I'll have to probably keep it at that for right now.
Well, like I said, Scotty, we appreciate what you do and then your commitment with us, man, and you coming on board. And we're going to give some boxing tips and stuff like that to people that want to box, that are boxers and not boxers, fans, and also tell them some of the stuff they can do from home. Like, we're talking about cardio the other day,
Yeah.
and one of the ways to get cardio in is large muscular activity. And large muscular activity is large movement by the limbs. So, for instance, if you're in a wheelchair, or if you're having problems walking, you can simply take your arms and move them up and down like you're doing jumping jacks 100 times, and you will get a good workout, and the blood flow will give you a good cardio workout. Just sitting on your butt in a chair and do this 100 times without jumping out your chair, that alone qualifies for large muscular activity. The large limbs, constantly movement, will get blood flow, will give cardio workout, will get your heartbeat going up, and will help you out. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do. And we're going to cover some of that, some other things next time on Scotty's Boxing Tips. Workouts, maybe how to counter or things like that. We get with the professional with that because I can only give you tips if we get on We Fit. Now we're actually in the ring. We need the ex-champ over here to give you that stuff. So it's got to be you, May. When we come back next time, we need to give him some boxing tips.
Oh, that'll be great. It's just so wonderful that to be able to give a little bit of information back. I know there's a lot of young fighters out there, and people that are not only just fighters, but they're people that need some kind of conditioning. And they're not boxers per se. That I people with Parkinson's, boxing has helped a lot of those. I have Parkinson's, and I'm in the early stages of it, but my tremors are pretty much taken care of. So the you know just the being able to give some tips to help out. Uh, and like you said, with sitting in a chair and doing something, if your extremities aren't working properly, let's say you're not walking, or you're not capable of walking, or you have a disability like that, and you can work around your whether it be a disease or injury. If you can work around that by keeping yourself active, it's just so important because like if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, and it's so important to get that heart just going a little bit. Keep the blood flow going, like you said. Um, you know, it's and it should be that way for all the way through all the way through life, not just because you're 20, 25 years old, but when you're like my age. I'm 58 almost, and I need that kind of work. I'm not able to do the kind of training I used to do, but I'm still able to work around a lot of the things that prevent me from doing a lot, but I can work around it and still keep myself in some kind of fitness shape.
All right. Well, thank you again, Scotty, for coming with me with Square Ring Magazine's boxing tips and boxing corner talk. I appreciate you so much, and we're going to come back next time, like I say, and definitely do the Scotty's boxing tips and give more tips on actual boxing. Maybe we can talk about the counter punch or something like that. But once again, Scotty, I really thank you so much for coming on board and helping us out today.
Cousin Chief, I'm really, really elated, very, very honored. I'm blessed, and I love this very much. And hopefully, you and I can relate a few things to people that are just working on fitness and people that are working toward boxing and boxing dreams, amateur, professional. Hopefully, we can say some positive stuff that is going to help them uh, get to where what or to achieve their goals.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, it's time for me to say my famous phrase, man. We hope we leave you better received with a smile on face and grace wherever you go throughout your day. It's Square Ring Magazine, GC Radio. Scotty, the Bulldog Olsen, and Cousin Chief saying, have a wonderful day. Be safe and careful out there. Happy Valentine's Day to you all. And if nobody tell you they love you, Scotty and I love you. Square Ring Magazine love you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
In a world of endless noise, one sound cuts through. GC Radio Hub. Your world, your sound. Imagine your favorite voices following you everywhere. From your smartphone to your car, your smart TV, even your virtual assistant. GC Radio Hub connects you to a universe of content. Check out our wonderful interviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio live music shows and podcasts. All at your fingertips. Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick TV. We're there wherever you are, because the only way to stay connected is to get connected. Download the GC Radio Hub app today and let your world come alive.